Feeling good, feeling great. Feeling great, feeling good. How are you? Welcome into Timeline T. I am your host, the Sam D, aka Sanduza Murray Jr. Oh, it's a Friday. Long week of shows, long week of streams, long week of editing clips, long week of editing shorts. Trying to give the people what I feel they need. Views are going up, we like that. If you haven't had a chance to check out some of the content, feel free to go back onto the video tab and check out some of the clips. And if you want to get more into replaying the entire streams, you can find those on the live tab of the channel. If you like shorts, we got some of those too. We'll be doing some different looking shorts as well. We're doing a lot of my stuff very polished. I think we're going to get a little bit more gritty, a little bit more grimy. Now, I am a guy from Southside Jamaica, Queens, so keep it a little bit more authentic to thy true self. Be on the lookout for that. Oh, this should be a fun one. I don't know if we'll go 3 hours like yesterday. That was an impromptu 3-hour stream. Who knew that, the NFL schedule, the 49ers in their quarterback room, whether or not today's players are as good as yesterday's players, yesterday as in the 90s to 2000s. Anthony Davis, legacy, Jokic, overrated, underrated. There was a lot going on yesterday. Really enjoyed that stream. I like the diverse array of topics. And you can see we have that again today. We're starting off with NBA as we have a team we can bury. A team that has a player I love to bury. So it's going to be a good time. Phoenix Suns up out of here. Not only could the point fraud be gone, because the former number 1 overall pick, DeAndre Ayton, also be on his way out of the valley. Tom Brady is back, kinda buying his way into a team. You see it there in the bottom, Vegas. He was trying to do this with Miami, but ultimately he was trying to spin the block to be a player. Is that what he's trying to do with the Raiders? We'll weigh it out. We'll see. And the potential elimination game, Dubs Lakers game 6 in LA. Lakers need this. Don't let it go to 7. You don't want to risk that. We'll touch on that. Andrew Wiggins, his availability up in the air. He's going to try to give it a go. To what extent, we don't know. We'll keep an eye on it. All right, so y'all know how I do. We like to start things off with the main lead topic, and that is the Phoenix Suns. Oh, wait, nope. There's some breaking news here. Breaking news here that is very vital to the timeline, very vital to the stream. And if you know type vibes, let's go right to the screen. Breaking news, Jalen Rose is now following Janelle Monáe. If you know, you know. It's Friday, man. We got to have some fun with it. It's Friday. Yeah, a lot of people are following. Emphasis on people. A lot of people, all types of genders, are following Janelle Monáe today. Anyway, lead story. The Phoenix Suns last year got eliminated by the Dallas Mavericks, and it was game 7 at the crib. The score at halftime of that game was 57-27. Yesterday, the Phoenix Suns were down 81-51 to the Denver Nuggets at an elimination game at the crib. So 2 straight summers, 2 straight playoffs. The Phoenix Suns were down 30 in a game that mattered, an elimination game. Can't get no stronger game, no better game than that. And that's leading a lot of people to believe who gonna be there next year. I say who all gonna be there at the event, at the cookout, at the spot. People are wondering who all gonna be on the Suns next year. Because right now you really have to look at it and try to figure out they really just got 2 dudes. 2 dudes that you trust. And D-Book and Kevin Durant tried their damnedest. Well, one of them tried their damnedest. D-Book wanted no parts of the smoke, and that's the 2nd straight elimination game because he was trash also in this Dallas game from last year. He was trash again last night. You know, whether he was checked out, whether he just assumed it was a foregone conclusion, because Denver they gave up 81. 81 in the first half. They got whatever they wanted. So D-Book checked out early, and it was very, very problematic. And I'm starting to wonder, well, I won't say starting, Monty Williams has to go at this point. Some people think he's a good coach. I've never been a big fan of Monty Williams. I've never seen anything that makes me feel like, oh, okay, he's a guy that gets it at this level from that position. But he's a guy that has had multiple chances now with teams that should have, if you believe the experts, pundits, be a championship contender. He was gifted arguably a top 5 player in his lap around the trade deadline. Now, yes, KD got hurt and he fought his way back to be a semblance of himself, and then the point fraud went out. But, you know, when you have KD and D-Book in what you feel is the remnants of DeAndre Ayton, you should be okay. And the fact that they were not okay, the fact that if the Clippers would have had a healthy lineup, they might not even have made it this far. It's a referendum on Monty Williams. Monty Williams is looking like someone who may need to look for employment elsewhere. There are some actual reports around that, so we'll get to that. But if we just peruse the box score real quick, we won't do too deep of a deep dive because it was a 25-point victory, and again they gave up 81 in one half. But Jokic did what Jokic does. Another triple-double. He averaged a triple-double for this series. Okay, so we had conversations. People were in the chat saying, you know, Jokic is overrated. Man's walked away with a triple dub and putting the Suns out the pasture. Jamal Murray, another great game, 26 points, 4 threes. And they didn't even really need Michael Porter Jr. I've been asking for Michael Porter Jr. to be a guy that can play well on the road. He plays well at home all the time. Getting him to play well on the road is looking to be the bugaboo for him. But be that as it may, their big three with Kentavious Caldwell-Pope being able to be a guy that was very aggressive with his shots and very efficient with his shots. He puts up a 20-piece, so that kind of negated the fact that Aaron Gordon and Michael Porter did not provide much offensively. But the one thing I have to say about Aaron Gordon, I was not a big proponent of the trade when they made it a few years ago. Everyone went crazy when they made that trade in season at the deadline a few years ago when they got Aaron Gordon from Orlando. And I was like, I don't know what y'all are expecting out of Aaron Gordon. And I feel I've been right on that. But the one thing I will say is that in this series in particular, he made KD work. Now, whether he watched the film from what Boston did to KD last year in the first round in that sweep, I don't know. But the Aaron Gordon being active defensively, that's not something we're accustomed to historically. But he gave us that, and he played very good defense. Even though KD can still more or less get to where he wants to get to on the floor, you just want to make him work and exert energy while he's doing that. So salute to Aaron Gordon for playing really good stand-up defense. Nothing that will make people stand up and notice unless you really watch the games, but salute to Aaron Gordon. Though we got to get to these Suns. The misery that is these Suns. Cam Payne had the game of his life, and it didn't matter. Man's put up everything that he could. 7 threes. When have you ever seen Cameron Payne, the best point guard on this roster, by the way, even when the point guard is healthy, still the best point guard on this roster. When have you ever seen him play better than what he did last night? And it meant nothing. It meant absolutely nothing. Those 7 threes, those couple dimes, 6 boards, 12 of 16, like an amazing game. And it went for naught. And D-Book, as we mentioned, 4 of 13, only 13 shots. That's problematic. Now, he played a lot of the point guard role. You see he had 8 dimes, so you can see how if he has 8 dimes, the shots can't be going up. But in a situation where you are on the verge of being eliminated, you would like to see arguably your best player put up more than 13 shots. Even with the 8 dimes, you want to see more than 13 shots. So it's problematic. They went with Jock Landale, who was effective early in spot duty in terms of filling in for DeAndre Ayton, but with him starting, I mean, it's a reason why he's Jock Landale, right? So it didn't really give you much. And the fact that DeAndre Ayton, was able to just chill and watch this team get blown out by 30 so that he can duck the smoke, hilarious. And, the problem is D-Book did not speak to the media last night. And I think they had exit interviews today. And let me see if I can find that quote. Yep. Devin Booker did not address the media at exit interviews today either. So not only did he skip the press last night, he skipped the exit interviews today. So D-Book does not want to talk about Nathan today. Now, if you're trying to be a star player, if you're trying to be a superstar, that's not a good look. And I've been a big D-Book proponent for a very long time. But you can't skip out on the media twice. You mad after the game? I can respect that. A lot was to be expected. You spit the bit at the crib, get blown up by 30 yet again. Fresh off the Mavericks series, we got blown up by 30. You then go down by 30 to the Nuggets. I get it. But then the exit interviews, you ain't trying to talk either. Very problematic for D-Book. Look, there's going to be changes. And one of them changes is their starting point guard is on his way to Taiwan. Their starting point guard is on their way to Taiwan because he has to fulfill a bet. If he is a man of his word, this is a man that, at time after time has been called the best floor general in sports, the best leader in sports, a leader of men, some have even said. If that's the case, that man needs to be on his way to Taiwan. Because this man said, if I don't win a ring with KD, I will go to Taiwan and hook up with Dwight Howard. So if this man is who y'all keep telling me he is, best floor general, best leader in sports, former president of the NBPA, all of that, if you're telling me he's all of that, then he needs to be on a one-way ticket to Taiwan. Don't tell me you want to run it back. Don't tell me, he's got a whole diatribe that he wrote out, and we'll get to it. He's got this whole diatribe of how, I can't, I still have a high IQ for the game. No. You're not going to Shanghai like Dylan Brooks. Go to Taiwan with D12. You put your name and your rep on it, and much like your reputation as the president of the NBPA, you tricked it off. Much like your entire career, you tricked it off. We'll hit the chat early. What's good, y'all? See y'all in the chat. Scrub Zero, D-Book tripping. Yeah, dog, he ain't trying to speak. He ducked the smoke. Ducking that smoke from the media. I'll let last night slide, right? I can understand sliding last night. The L was too fresh. Maybe kind of sort of don't got Kendall Jenner there to warm up the bed no more. Like, I understand. But outside of that, today, you can't just sit there. It's not like you got to sit there for half an hour. Your media obligation, you can control that. If you want to only be there for 10, 15 minutes, you can do that. But apparently, it was too much for D-Book on two separate occasions to talk about the season, the loss, and looking forward into next offseason. Next season, excuse me. Ab is in the chat. What's good, Ab? D-Booker, you have to take the smoke. I don't understand it. I understand why last night. It's a horrible spot. No one wants to stand there and have to talk about why they just got blown out at the crib back-to-back years. No one wants to sit there and explain why a team that has D-Book, KD, in theory, DeAndre Ayton, in theory, the point fraud, gets smoked out of the playoffs without reaching the conference finals. No one wants to sit there and have to answer questions about, hey, Monty Williams, do you have a grasp of what he wants to do? No one wants to sit there and say, yo, DeAndre Ayton, why the hell did y'all even bring him back when it's clear he don't like the coach and the coach don't like him? No one wants to sit there and talk about how, yo, your new owner seems to really like the spotlight. He's got a lot of Balmer in him. Are you concerned about that? No one wants to sit there and answer those questions, but here's the thing. You can sit there and just word salad people to death without saying a real answer and then go home. But why he ducked the smoke 2 straight times, really, really problematic. Ab in the chat. I was never sold on CP3, aka the point fraud, on being clutch because of injuries, being in injuries and coming up short most of the time. I mean, I don't know a time where he hasn't ever come up short. And that's kind of been his MO. I mean, again, we can start with the fact that he needed to punch Julius Hodge in the nuts on the four-letter network in front of Dickie V. When he was the 3rd ranked, point guard in the country as a high school senior. This man would have you, he would lead you to believe he's this hard luck story. He got it out the mud. Mans was the 3rd ranked point guard in the country and still felt he needed to go on national TV and punch blatantly Julius Hodge in the nuts on the 4-letter network in front of Dickie V. He's been a fraud to me ever since that day. And like I've said on my podcast, and if you want to listen to the CMD podcast, trust me, when I do my next episode and it's talk about the point fraud, you're going to want to tap in. Ab in the chat can tell you about that. But make sure you hit that link in the description if you want to check out the podcast. But yeah, it's going to be open season. It's going to be open season on the point fraud. It's the 3rd straight year I get to air him out in a special way. And dude is just a fraud, man. I don't know what more we could put on it. But, it is what it is. Scrub Zero tapping in. Yeah, being absent from exit interviews isn't a good look. No, it's not. You got a simple job, dog. You can just go up there and sit there and just answer questions in your own way. You can no comment them to death. You can Marshawn Lynch them to death. No one's asking for some real answers. If you're silly enough to give real answers, then that goes to your acumen. You could go up there and Marshawn Lynch them to death. I'm just here so I won't get fined. That's it. D Booker always doing his BS. I mean, he certainly has. He was trashed last year against the Mavs in Game 7. Now it's another game this year. Last night he did not look good. Although the only caveat I'll give him is he was trying to be more of a facilitator, especially with campaign going off, going crazy with 7 threes. However, though, when you're D Book and you could go for a 50 piece, when you could go for a 70 piece. When you're down Ayton, you're down the point fraud, and it's an elimination game at the crib, I ain't passing to campaign too much, dog. Scrub Zero, maybe it's time to admit D-Book isn't that guy, ain't that guy. Oof. I can't do that, Scrub Zero, and I'll tell you why. To me, D-Book is that guy. I think the problem is he's only had one good coach his entire tenure in the NBA. He's only had one good coach. Let me see how many years. Let me pull up the screen real quick. He's only had, let me make sure. This is year 8? Yeah. In 8 years, he's only had one good coach, Earl Watson. And if you look, that's when D Book took the step, when he had Earl Watson. Remember, they had the Russian dude and they had to run him up out of there. And then they got Earl Watson in there, and Earl Watson unleashed D Book. That was when he went for 70 the first time. Because he had Earl Watson, who just said, it's your world, pimpin', go for it. And he went crazy. That, to me, is still the best D Book we've ever seen under Earl Watson. But Monty Williams, to me, is not a good coach. I've never seen anything that's made me think Monty Williams can even bring anything significant to the table from that perspective outside of just a former player angle. and I keep saying it, and it's mostly we see it with these former athlete podcasts and stuff like that. Yo, dogs, you can only locker room talk me to death yet so much. Like at some point, it's, yo, dogs, what are we doing here? Take this clipboard and draw it up, bruh. Unless you're Doc Rivers and you got a Sam Cassell in the tuck who could draw up the plays for you. Like, Monty, to my understanding, doesn't have a Sam Cassell like that. So it's left to Monty to really try to draw it up, and y'all see the results. What offense have you seen the Suns run? Now, granted, it's hard to come up with a new system on the fly when you just plop KD in and you gut the depth on the roster, but still. Dribble handoff? 3-man weave? Can we do something? 2-man action? Screen and roll with KD and Book? Maybe press the issue that way? Like, something. If we can sit here on this stream when we watching these games and call out stuff that they could try to do, how come Monty can't? I don't know, man. It's tough. It's real tough. Salute, absolute. Appreciate that. Hey, Alex, how you doing? Jokic tore it up last night. Yes, he did. Triple dub, and he averaged a triple dub for the whole series. And, I know we had Boogie down in here yesterday, and he was calling Jokic overrated. I mean, it's just some takes you just can't take serious. Anyone saying Jokic is overrated, I just will really just don't trust your basketball acumen. Like, it's really just certain things. Like, I can agree to disagree. Like I think me and Scrub had a agree to disagree thing yesterday, and that's fine. That's perfect. I prefer things like that. But we weren't agreeing to disagreeing over whether Jokic is overrated. Like, that's silly. Like, that's where it gets to me where it's like, yo, come on, dog. Like, what are you watching? With what Jokic has done, not only in this series, the entire playoffs, not even the entire playoffs, the entire season, not just this season, but the last 3 seasons, how are you saying Jokic is overrated? Stop it. And by the way, there's a video on the channel up from yesterday about us talking about Jokic, because I was just like, yo, this is a good conversation. We need more people to see that we had this conversation. So there is a Jokic video clip from yesterday up on the channel. Let's see. Scrub. Monty Williams is a good regular season coach, but that's it. I mean, do we even have knowledge about that? Are we even sure about that? Like, it's look at those squads. Even the squad he had in New Orleans. Do we really? Wow, we're really going to do a Monty Williams deep dive. Let's see. This is why I love this stream, because we just veer off and just like, all right, let's do a retrospective on Monty Williams. We need him as a coach, not as a player. There he is, coach. Like, all right, so he got the Hornets thing popping, right? And he had, 2 winning seasons with the Hornets. And one of these was they were the 2 seed one year, I believe. I don't know if that was the first year or the last year, but one of these years they were the 2 seed. And then they tricked it off. And then you see with the Suns, he's had success the last 3 years. But in regards to, do we really know Monty's a good regular season coach? Like, I'm a little perturbed. I'm questioning if we even know that. To be quite honest with you, it took these Phoenix years to even make his record over 500. Even with these Phoenix years, he's still barely over 500. So I don't even know if Monty's even a good regular season coach to keep it a buck with you, Scrub. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying I think it's worth a conversation. Ab in the chat heavy today. Like that. It's what you do in the off season as well. It's D-Book working on his game, defensive as well. Mentally, what's your take on it? I think Book does work on his game. I think he played well at times defensively. I think he's still trying to navigate. Because remember, D-Book was nice. He played out of position, but he was nice as a point guard and defensively very early in his career. Then when they transitioned to where he was literally the last dude left and he needed someone to get a bucket, that's when Earl Watson unleashed him. And then he just started cooking dudes. And you could probably say his defensive growth stopped at that point. I do think Book works on his game. I do think Book wants to be a great. I think he wants to be known as the best two guard in the league. And after the season he's had and, take away last night, even before last night, you could say he definitely is. I heard Bomani, and, I don't like to call out people in the media per se, especially people that look like me, but he thinks he's coming out with an original take saying he thinks D Book is the best shooting guard in the league. I'm like, well, where you been the last couple of years? Because who else has been a better shooting guard in the NBA than D Book the last 2-3 years? Who? I'll wait. Who was ahead of him? But, it's the Four-Letter Network. They got to say their thing to get their clicks and retweets or whatever. And I'm not saying Bomani's doing that, but it's like, to me, it's like, yo, dog, it's like, that tells me you wasn't really watching basketball. If you're telling me, oh, now D-Book is the best two guard, well, who was it before? So I do think Book works on his game, Ab. I think it's just going to be a thing of what is this roster going to be built around him? KD's not the number one on this team. It's Book. So how do you build around a team that has Book as your one and Kevin Durant as your two? Is it Kyrie Irving? Is it trading DeAndre Ayton to Atlanta for maybe some John Collins? Maybe you have to take Capella. Like what is the framework of this roster that you're going to build around Devin Booker? Because he's clearly the guy. Jokic is really stepping up in the postseason. He's averaging a triple dub over 6 games against a team that's formidable. DeAndre Ayton, even though he didn't play last night, he's still a formidable big. He's not a great big. You could even argue if he's even a good big, but a formidable big, he put up a triple dub. And a rather easy triple dub. Like, that's the thing with Jokic. And I think that's where we get a little, that's where it looks like he's overrated, because he makes a triple dub look easy from the center position. And it's not. He makes it look easy, but it's not. Like, you're not supposed to be able to do that so easily. It's not easy to be 7 foot, operate at the top of the key, and just dish out 11 dimes, go bang in the paint for your 28, and then, by the way, go get 12, 13 boards. That's not easy. In case I need to, really emphasize, that's not easy. Say whatever you want. How many other bigs had done it before him? Y'all let me know in the chat. I know y'all know that answer. Scrub Zero, that's a fair point. Maybe just the guys that... Yeah, Scrub, I really think he's just a former player that showed some acumen as an assistant coach, and that's cool. And he got a chance. He had that franchise with the Hornets, and, the point fraud loves him. So much so that he got him another gig, or helped get him another gig in Phoenix, and then he spun the block and played for him again. So, he's in with the right people. But in terms of X's and O's, he's lacking. Maybe he's a good motivator, which, Doc Rivers has that about him as well. Like, certain players that have turned coaches, you either fall into one or two camps. Either you're a great motivator or you're a great X's and O guys. Like Ty Lue. Ty Lue is a great X's and O guy. He's not really a motivator per se, but his sideline inbounds plays, top tier. Top tier. If you watch Clipper games, and even some when he was with the Cavs, top tier. Okay? But in terms of motivating, not really that much there. Uh-oh, Alex is preparing us. Okay. I am glad I don't have to see Ja Morant until next season. That that's not that unpopular. I was not a fan. I was not a fan of the Grizzlies. If that's more about Ja and the stuff he did, that's a conversation we can have in the chat. If it's about Ja and the way that he used mental health to get off on the nonsense that he was allegedly doing, that's definitely a conversation we can have in the chat. Coach Williams can't make in-game situations. Plus, with Ayton, you have to feed him. Well, here's the problem, Ab. Even when they had the point fraud, there's only certain ways you can feed him. Like if we're talking about what's D-Book doing in the offseason, let's talk about what Ayton's doing in the offseason. He literally can only score two ways: rim run or drop-offs. That's it. He's not even dynamic above the rim. Like, it's not like he's catching lobs all over the place like DeAndre Ayton or any of like Blake Griffin in his prime, or even Clint Capella when he had Harden. Like, he's not even doing that. He might catch the occasional lob, but he's not even that dynamic. And when you're like a finesse big like that, shouldn't you at least be able to do that? So if we're calling out D-Book and what he's doing in the offseason, I'd rather point the finger at Ayton and say, bruh, besides hitting the islands, what are you doing? I love like fresh coconut water like anybody else, but what else are you doing? Alex would make the trade for John Collins. I mean, it's out there. I mean, I'm really surprised it didn't happen last year. It was very much heavily rumored last year. There was supposed to be a sign and trade with Ayton to go to Atlanta. Deal fell through for whatever reason. But yeah, I think both sides will want to revisit that. Landry Fields is now in the Atlanta Hawks front office. He's trying to shake things up because, yeah, you can't win with just Trae Young. And they got DeJounte Murray, but for some reason, even though they got DeJounte Murray, they're still putting Trae Young as the number one option. So even though DeJounte Murray is clearly better. But anyway, I think that's a deal that will be explored again in the offseason. Alex saying, yep, rip and run a drop off. Yeah, I wish he could do more. I wish he could do more. Maybe he needs to go to Taiwan too. Maybe he needs to go to Taiwan. So let's get to the point fraud. Christopher Paul. This was his statement after the game. He talks about his role, and I guess he's realizing the end is near. I'm not sure what to make of any of this. I just want to kind of skip some of the word salad stuff and get to the part right here. I remember when the games ended in 85-80 scores. I don't talk about it too much, but I know this game just about better than anybody. I put that up against anybody. That's what's not going to change, is my knowledge of the game. That's what's not going to change, is my knowledge of the game. I'll say that again. That's what's not going to change, is my knowledge of the game. Y'all know I like to stir the pot, but I'm not stirring the pot here. I think these words are very chosen carefully by the point fraud. That's what's not going to change, is my knowledge of the game. And I'm going to keep putting in the work. So if you're mad at it, you hate it, that's on you. Now, some people have hit me and asked, do I feel a way like the point fraud's talking to me? Or talking to people that don't like him, like myself? I don't think the point fraud even knows I exist, but if he does, that shit don't matter to me, bruh. Like, if you think that's gonna hit me in my soul and make me have some sort of empathy, you bugging. The basketball gods did not let us down. The basketball gods showed us yet again that someone like yourself, who is a flopping, CBA circumventing charlatan, will never prosper. He will never get a ring. Never get an NBA championship, because he does not deserve it. If only y'all knew what he did to the CBA to affect players, young players that will come years after. There's literally writers striking right now, fighting for some of the things that the point fraud gave away as head of the NBPA. But yet this man was given State Farm endorsements. He's got documentaries on Netflix, and he's been lauded everywhere he's went as the greatest leader in all sports, a floor general, a coach on the floor. This man's a fraud. He flops. He's dirty. And I can't wait to the next The CMD podcast. Link is in the description. I don't like to self-promote too much, and that's probably why my numbers aren't crazy like other people's. But I will say one thing. If you're ever going to give my podcast a chance, just go back into the archives and look up Take Them to Church and Take Them to Church 2. If you want to get my brand of comedy, my brand of writing and all of that, that's where you need to go. He's a fraud. In the chat, that game last night, I was hollering at the TV with Jokic putting up those numbers. Yeah, he was insane. He was insane last night. He was a problem. And it was such an easy, let me see, where was it? Triple dub. 32, 12, and 10. 32, 12, and 10. And that was damn near his average. What's also not going to change is Chris Paul not having rings. That's big fact, scrub. That's the realest shit you ever said, bruh. That's the realest shit you ever said. That's not going to change. That's not going to change, bruh. Please believe it, please. That ain't going to change. That man is a fraud. So we have Dwight Howard making sure to check the receipts. We have, the word salad from the point fraud. We also have D-Book skipping out on exit interviews today. We also have this from Bobby Marks. How do the Suns rebuild this roster? Well, they have no first-round pick. The only trade asset they have is DeAndre Ayton, although they can move the point fraud. And his contract is actually very valuable if you look at the structure of it. For the team, for the Suns. It's very team-friendly. Again, this man circumvented the CBA to extend the age of players being able to be eligible to get a max contract. He pushed it to, I believe, 38. So he pushed it 1 year so that he could be eligible to get one last max contract. And then when he was eligible to get that max contract, he gave the Suns a discount. Huh? The math did not math. So what sweetheart deal did they make under the table for you to circumvent the CBA to make it harder for veterans and young players to get one last max bag, and you didn't even take advantage of that max bag? Huh? Whatever, man. So anyway, the point fraud campaign and Landry Shamet are movable assets, and they have the vet minimum and a $5 million trade exception, which means they really don't have a lot to move here. This is a barren treasure chest if we're talking about how can you improve this team. No first round pick, DeAndre Ayton, and you got to understand, if we know DeAndre Ayton isn't that great, guess who else knows that? Other teams in the league. So good luck trying to find anything of note. That's why we're talking about the Hawks, because the Hawks, if you want to go to the Hawks and look at what they could potentially do, you're looking at a squad that has John Collins, DeAndre Hunter. I mean, I don't know who else you can flip in this deal. I know one person they better not deal, and that's Jalen Johnson. Very high on Jalen Johnson. They should not move him in no deal whatsoever. But if you want to move John Collins, I would even throw in DeAndre Hunter. I think that was a bust of a draft pick for where they selected him. He's not a bad basketball player, but he should have never been drafted as high as he was. But if you are the Suns, and you could get Collins and Capella and one of these youngins that they got, maybe AJ Griffin, because clearly the Suns need depth and they need young depth. So if you could get Collins, Capella, and AJ Griffin, then I think that's something that you have to consider if you're the Phoenix Suns. And then if you're the Hawks, that's a pretty solid move that you could roll out with Trae Young, DeJounte Murray, and DeAndre Ayton, and maybe they can teach DeAndre Ayton how to really rim run. Maybe he could develop a low post game. Highly unlikely, but one could dream. So that's where we're at with that. They don't have a lot of assets to really make something happen. And if you're building this team around Devin Booker and KD, if you move off the point fraud and get whatever you can for him because he'll be an expiring deal, and then you move DeAndre Ayton because you want to move DeAndre Ayton, all right, so now you're not going to have Cam Payne as your starting point guard. I said it once the trade happened at the deadline. The Dallas Maverick thing clearly did not work out. If you are Kyrie, do you want to try again with Kevin Durant? And if you're the Phoenix Suns, coming off the turmoil of DeAndre Ayton allegedly beefing with the point fraud and Monty Williams, do you want to bring in someone like Kyrie, who we know how he gives it up, but we also know how good of a basketball player he is? Are you willing to roll the dice one more time with a combustible mix that could go very left at the drop of a dime? Hit the chat. Scrub Zero, Chris Paul living like the sleazeball he is. I mean, I wish more people knew that. I wish more people did. It's becoming a fun thing to say on Twitter that, oh, Chris Paul is the worst and I hate Chris Paul. But no. There's some real valid reasons to do so. Like there's some real, he does some great stuff at the HBCUs and all that. And I'll never shade him for doing that stuff. Right. And he's on, Netflix doing plant-based documentaries. I won't shade him for that either. But when he's on the court, oh, it's fraud city. It's fraud city. Alex, the Suns are a broke basketball franchise. Yeah, it's looking like it, Alex. It's really hard for them to rebuild. It's really going to be hard for them to rebuild. Scrub Zero, Suns have more liabilities than assets. Oh man, you out here on your earn your leisure tip. You out here on your earn your leisure wave. But it's facts though. And here we go with, more talk about the point fraud. The Suns are expected to, quote, aggressively shop the point fraud this summer. No shock there. This is something DeAndre Ayton, out of all the Suns to speak today in the exit interviews, we didn't get Devin Booker, but we did get DeAndre Ayton. DeAndre Ayton said, again, this is a lie. This is a lie. But what else is he going to say? So he says what he's supposed to say to keep the heat off of him. DeAndre Ayton remains committed to the Suns. I love Phoenix, man. Honestly, I'm going to continue to play hard for Phoenix until he's traded. So this technically is not a lie, but he'll never have to play hard for Phoenix ever again. And when you do the heels of this, right, him saying, I'm going to continue to play hard for Phoenix, they may get reports just hours later, Ayton would be excited about a fresh start with another franchise. Sources told the Four-Letter Network. The Suns are expected to aggressively explore the trade market for him this summer. So a man stands out there and says the thing he's supposed to say. Meanwhile, in back channels, Ayton would be excited about a fresh start with another franchise. This is where we're at today in the NBA. Now, who should want the point fraud? As of right now, because of obvious mob ties, the Lakers are the favorites to land the point fraud. How much so? Let's look at the odds. Lakers are 3-1 odds as of right now to land the point fraud, if it's not the Phoenix Suns. So the point fraud to the Lake Show. Somehow the Timberwolves are in here. Could he go back to Lob City with Kawhi and Pandemic P? The Sixers, who there's a lot of reports about James Harden going back to Houston. That would open up a point guard spot, right? 7-1 odds for that. The Miami Heat, the Kyle Lowry thing has not worked out. Heat could use a point guard. I think the point guard could work in the whole Heat culture nonsense. I would love to see him try to bully ball or try to big bro Jimmy Butler. It could be very much a Karl Anthony Towns in Minnesota thing if the point guard goes to Miami and thinks he's the lead dog when that is clearly Jimmy Butler's franchise. 8-1 odds. Could he return to the Pels? 10-1. Portland 10-1. Him and Dame. Chicago, and then on and on and on. I mean, we don't got to go through all these teams, but Boston's interesting. The fact that Boston's down here at the very bottom, 20-1? 20-1. No, 16. Yeah, 16-1 for Boston. So anyway, there you have that. And here's another thing about Monty Williams. Monty Williams and Tyronn Lue are on the radar of the Milwaukee Bucks. If I am Giannis Antetokounmpo, the Nigerian freak, I'm telling them Ty Lue or bust. You do not want Monty Williams pulling up in Milwaukee because ain't no plays coming with him. Ty Lue, at least I know there's going to be some actual X's and O's. You just had a guy that was just a figurehead leading that organization in Mike Budenholzer. Why would you go bring in another one? Go bring in a coach that has some real play calling acumen in Ty Lue. So if I'm the Bucks, that's where I would go. If I'm Giannis and I'm trying to fight off these rumors of him maybe trying to spin the block on those Warriors trade reports, I'm telling the Bucks go bring in Ty Lue. There was 2 games last night as we finally slide off the Suns. Well, let me hit the chat first one time. Alex, Jimmy Butler would make him look like the trash he is. That's facts. I would love it, though. That would be perfect for me. Let him go down to Miami and try to be, try to one-up Heat culture. Good luck. Good luck. All right, so there was another game last night. We had the Celtics taking out the Philadelphia 76ers, and what was a pretty ugly game, but some people are jumping out the window and saying this was a pivotal moment for Jason Tatum. I don't know why they think that, as if he didn't make a ridiculous run to the finals last year and even play well in those finals, even though you can give some harsh criticism of his play late in those finals. The run to the finals was top tier. Jason Tatum, who shot horribly but made shots late. He became a shot maker. But I will just bring up the thing I've been talking about on the stream for the last week and change following this series. If you want to know how things are going for the Celtics, there's 2 things to look for. The assist numbers for Marcus Smart, which was 7, which is good. Because he's the point guard, even though he's not really a point guard. But then the next numbers to look at is shot attempts and the disparity of shot attempts between Jason Tatum. So he took 21 shots. He only made 5. But again, he was a shot maker. He hit the ones that counted. And Jaylen Brown, 13. So again, this huge disparity where Tatum's getting 21 shots and he shot 24%. And he's somehow taking more shots than Jaylen Brown, who continues to be more efficient than him. 11 threes for Jason Tatum. Only 3 for Jaylen Brown. And even with that huge disparity in shots, he only had 2 more points more than Jaylen Brown. And if you want to do the plus minus, he was a +2. Jaylen Brown was a +8. Robert Williams was the star last night. Robert Williams was a difference maker. They went big in the starting lineup. They got Derek White up out of there. And they only went 7 deep, as you see here. No Grant Williams at all. No Muscala, none of them. 7 deep in an elimination game. That's how you do an elimination game. You leave it all out there. They were not taking any chances because Grant Williams most likely is gone after this year anyway. So let's go ahead and stick with the dudes that's got us here, and that's these 7 dudes. And Robert Williams was a difference maker. It's not that he's an Embiid stopper or anything like that, but his physicality, the way that he can make people adjust, shots when they drive to the rim. Robert Williams is one of those. He's one of those. But they need to figure out the point guard position because, again, Marcus Smart likes his shot too. 15 shot attempts. When Jaylen Brown, who's the second best player on his team, is taking less shots than him. Problematic, man. Problematic. Hit the chat. Scrub Zero Tatum somehow channeled Kobe Bryant. Well, I think that's the big problem there, Scrub Zero. And I'll come off the screen for this because I've kind of been waiting for somebody to tee this up. Jason Tatum needs to stop channeling Kobe Bryant. I understand Kobe's a mentor. I understand Kobe, the whole Mamba mentality. They worked out together. He was kind of learning at the knee of Kobe Bryant. Here's the thing, though. Only Kobe could get away with Kobe stuff. Jason Tatum, as good as he is, he can't get away with this Kobe shit. Kobe had chips. He had the confidence. He had the bravado. He had the moxie. But he carried that. Them air balls against Utah, he carried that. He wore that. Nothing about Tatum shows me that he's that type of dude. He tries, but it ain't him. So I think that's going to be the detriment of this team is that he keep thinking he Kobe. It's like the habitual nut hitter talking to Paul Pierce. You think you Kobe. Scripts here, Celtics nearly choked the game away, though. Yeah, that fourth quarter was wild, right? That fourth quarter, if we try to pull up the buckets, like if it wasn't for Tatum, like I showed you how bad he was, right? But let's just take a look at the fourth quarter. He closed the game out. 4 of 8. 4 threes. Like that's what you want for the entire game. And then Jaylen Brown, not one shot attempt. 8 shots for Tatum, 4 for Marcus Smart because he's the point guard, so he's got the ball in his hands a lot. And all 3 of his assists went towards Jason Tatum. All 3 of his assists, went to Jason Tatum. Tell you, Malcolm Brogdon needs to be starting. Until they figure that out, until they get that rectified, I don't think the Celtics are going to win a championship. They may be able to get past the Sixers, and they may even be able to get back to the finals, but I don't think they're winning that finals with the current makeup that they have. I don't see it. If they face Denver, it's a wrap. Boston is going to get run off the floor, I believe, because they got nothing for Jokic. Absolutely nothing for Jokic. And if it's the Lake Show, they got nothing for Anthony Davis. Robert Williams will be better suited against Anthony Davis, but against Jokic, he would have nothing. But that stat we got, let me see, do we want to do that right now? No, we'll save that for Dubs Lakers. Okay, we'll save that for later. Okay. Let's get into Tom Brady, because Tom Brady is trying to sneak his way back in. And I'm trying to wonder, is he running the Miami smoke screen again? Is Tom Brady running the Miami smoke screen again? You see the reporting here from Seth Wickersham, 4-Letter Network. Well, let's get to the main thing about it. Where is it? I don't have that. Oh, I thought I had that. All right. More or less, Brady is in talks to buy a stake with the Raiders. It's a minority stock. It's a minority share. He'll be like, Jay-Z with the Nets, Serena with the Dolphins. Who else? I think Lewis Hamilton owns a piece of the Broncos. Like, it's a very minute share. But don't forget, Brady was trying to do this with the Dolphins, and the end game of that was that he was going to play again. So is he now trying to run this same game with the Raiders? Because again, the thing that he was trying to do in Miami was, I'm going to take a role in the front office, buy a share of the team, have a role in the front office, do that for about 6 months to a year, and then after that, get some compensation from Tampa, negotiate my way out of that, and then once I unretire and I'll sell off whatever I can, sell off my minute share, now I'm back and I'm now the starting quarterback. Is Brady doing another smokescreen where he wants to play again? We know his blueprint already. It's the same blueprint so far. So I don't know. I'm just going to put that out there. I'll hit the chat before we continue. Alex, Jason Tatum needs to learn to break out his own playing style. Yeah, I don't know if he can. I don't know if he's got that Kobe thing bad. He's got the Kobe thing bad. Like, he really think he Kobe. Scrub Zero. But Celtics got two Scottie Pippins and Tatum and Brown. Well, here's the problem. One of them don't think he's Scottie. And low-key, both of them might not think they Scottie. So what do you do then? If Tatum think he Kobe and Jaylen Brown knows I ain't no Scottie, then what do? Both of them are eligible for the max. Now, Atlanta is another trade destination that could be for Jaylen Brown. So imagine what Atlanta could do. They could potentially have the pieces to go get Jaylen Brown and DeAndre Ayton and not have to give up DeJounte Murray or Trae Young. Just something to think about. Alex, I literally am waiting to see Denver win a chip. It would be interesting to see the hot takes if that happens. I think NBA analysts would blow their minds. Like, the analytical nerds would be holding their own parades, like how the Knicks fans do after a regular season win or one playoff win. That's how that would happen. But I just can't see them getting past the Lakers. I think the Lakers just going to find their way, just wiggle, scratch, and claw their way into another, at least getting out the West. I don't know if they win the chip, but depends on the matchup. Alex, Brady. Yeah, I mean, he always finds a way. Like, man said he was going to take a step back and take a year off. And I feel like he's been in the headlines every other week since saying that. Whether it's, trying stand-up comedy, whether it's, trying to work things out with Giselle, whether it's, I don't know if I even want to do the Fox gig yet. I might not be ready to do that next year. Like, there's always something going on. Didn't he had to lay off some people from his media company and all this stuff. There's always something. I mean, a lot of people are laying off in general, but when TB12 is laying people off, like, damn, bruh. Scrub Zero, both of them don't think they Scottie, and they be playing like it. Yeah, well, definitely Tatum. Jaylen Brown don't even get the rock enough to even show that he don't think he's Scottie. That's the real problem. Tatum gets to show too much that he ain't Scottie. Brown is dying to show he ain't Scottie. So for more clarity on the Tom Brady thing, Andrew Brandt, who's a OG former exec, does a lot of sports business stuff, it would be quite limited if the valuation is, say, $4 billion. Even a 1% stake would be $40 million. Brady is wealthy, but doubt he has $40 million laying around. Although I'm sure he's not paying retail here. So this is what he's saying. He would be buying a stake of the team for a discount. So he wouldn't even be paying, like if the valuation is $4 billion and he wants 1%, he would have to pay $40 million. Brady ain't doing that. Mark Davis is probably going to cut him a deal to where he might not even have to pay $10 million. But if he cashes out, he would still get whatever that full 1% is for the evaluation of the team. Pays to be famous. Like, we know he got it. Like, he's saying he don't think Tom Brady has $40 million laying around. I vehemently deny that. Although most people who have these millions keep those millions invested or hard to touch. So he could be correct, but a number like 40 doesn't strike me as being too crazy for Tom Brady. Although, maybe if he wouldn't have taken all them discounts with the Patriots all them years, maybe he could have 40 mil. And that's why you never take a discount. Alex Brady could sell his house in Tampa for that cash easy. I mean, you would know better than me. All right, so we have that story. There's a story on Dan Snyder, but I mean, it's a Friday. I don't want to be depressed. I'll just say this. Be prepared for some Dan Snyder, not tea, just straight hardcore expose reporting. We've gotten a lot of instances of hearing some of the stuff that he was in charge of while with the Washington football team. And, you know, they had to go to Congress with it. There was a full-on investigation with it. And he's been very vehemently, uncooperative in the proceedings, in the investigations. But just be ready to hear some like salacious, problematic workplace environment type shit with the Washington football team very soon. Very soon. It's a Friday. I don't want to get wrapped up in that. But what I do want to get wrapped up in, we got Dubs Lake Show tonight. We also have Knicks Heat, but I think we're all pretty much lockstep in saying the Heat are going to take care of the Knicks tonight, right? Like, no one thinks the Knicks are going to push this to 7, right? But I think there are some people that think the Dubs can push this to 7 with the Lake Show. And it comes down to, let's see if we can find something on Andrew Wiggins, because that was the big thing in regards to, is A. Wiggins going to be able to go tonight? Let's see if there's anything we could find. Let's see, where are we at? NBA Central. Let's see. DeAndre Ayton has likely played his last game. We already talked about that. Lakers and Bulls. So nothing new on Andrew Wiggins. I guess I'm going to have to search Andrew Wiggins. Oh, okay. Andrew Wiggins. See if there's any news. Okay, Woj, the bluest of blue check boys. At this hour, the belief is that Andrew Wiggins will try and play in Game 6 tonight. He'll go through his pregame routine and see how his costal cartilage fracture ribs feel prior to tip. Regardless, shooting will be a challenge. I mean, the one good thing for A. Wiggins is you don't need him to be shooting to contribute. If this was Steph or Clay, it'll be scary hours. It'll be spooky hours. But with Wiggins, he don't have to shoot to be effective and be a problem for the Lake Show. So, and matter of fact, let's go ahead and look at A. Wiggins right quick. Let's see what he's been able to do this series summary. Series summary. A. Wiggins, right there. I mean, he is giving you 17 a game. 17, 6, and 3. 47% from the floor, 38% from 3. Damn, low-key, Wiggins has been all right. It hasn't really jumped out at the screen to me, But if we're just looking at numbers, he can say he played all right. Now, in watching the games, I don't think he's played all right. I mean, he certainly, if it wasn't for Jordan Poole and Klay Thompson, you could definitely bring A. Wiggins under the spotlight. But because Poole has been absolutely horrific and Klay Thompson just keeps looking his age, Wiggins has kind of slid under the radar. Remember, I was actively asking, is he healthy? And this was before the ribs. I was asking, is Wiggins okay? Because he just didn't look like himself on the floor. And we know, the stuff that he went through, or at least what they told us he went through, while he was absent from the team for a majority of the season. But it's hard to just come back and just ramp up to playoff speed. But that's essentially what they did with A. Wiggins. I mean, it's a miracle they've gotten this much out of him. Let's hit the chat. Scrub Zero. I don't trust the orange and blue crush soda bums the Knicks tonight, but I would be happy to be wrong. Okay, so it's orange and blue skies for Scrub Zero. Yeah, bruh. 1, 2, 3 Cancun, bruh. 1, 2, 3 Cancun. I mean, it was a good run. It's a good run. I mean, if they didn't have the black hole of Julius, I would give y'all a shot. And the fact that, you get, alternate days with RJ Barrett, everyone goes alternate days with AD. I think you could say the same thing about RJ Barrett, but, it is what it is. Here's the thing that I'll ask you, Scrub Zero. And I was on ESPN Radio on Wednesday with my guy, Greg Larnard, ESPN Radio in Tennessee. And he's a Knick guy. I met him here. We used to work at WFAN together. I asked him, going forward for the Knicks, who are you moving? Are you moving Julius Randle? Or are you moving RJ Barrett? So I'll throw that to you, Scrub Zero. Barrett or Randle, who are you moving? The one thing we need to pay attention to in this Lakers series, because if we look at Game 5, it was an admiration, in my opinion. I'm not even going to bring up the AD stuff because he got hurt late. But if there's not another guy to step up and contribute offensively, like Austin Reeves really hasn't been that good. He's been okay, but certainly not as impactful as he was against Memphis. And that's to be expected because obviously the defensive assignment is different this series. But I would love for them to unleash Rui. Rui and Lonnie Walker. We did get a Lonnie game, so maybe I got to fall back from Lonnie. But Rui's been kind of quiet ever since that Memphis series, which is surprising to me that he can't cook. Because as a guy that's a hybrid 4/3, I don't know why he can't cook. The skill set is there, the energy is there. I would like to think the motivation is there. But he hasn't really broken that rotation to me. Like, he gets minutes, but not a lot of opportunity. Now, is that because he's running with Schroeder and the twos? And we know Schroeder is going to get his shots up. I don't know. But I would like to think, knowing that there's it's a home game. So, your role players play better at home. That's the old adage, right? So your role players play better at home. So you would like to think, you're assuming AD goes, and there's no reason for us to think that he won't go. Bron will give you Bron, although we unearthed yesterday, and I'm going to work on a clip, us unearthing of how many threes LeBron took this year. I was flabbergasted yesterday. And yes, I used the word flabbergasted. I was flabbergasted at the amount of threes Bron took this year. I was none the wiser. So I'm going to chop that up and see if we could get a clip up, or maybe I'll make that into a YouTube short or something. I don't know. But I was surprised in real time when we were like really doing a deep dive on Bron's numbers. And I was like, God damn, 500 threes? And you're shooting 31%? And you're 6'9", 260, 270? Anyway, I think a role player tonight steps up for the Lake Show to help eliminate the Golden State Warriors, whether it's D'Lo. Vanderbilt has given you next to nothing. I won't say he's been neutralized, because we know how he was successful early in this series, especially, face guarding Steph and when they use Steph off the ball. But it's just been weird. Darvin Ham's rotations are always a little weird. So I'm not sure where that goes, but I think a role player steps up for the Lake Show to get it done tonight. And I think that's where we'll go with that. Let me hit the chat. I see Scrub has definitely answered the question. I appreciate that. He's given some insight here. Let's see. If it has to be one or the other, I would say Barrett. As much as I have complaints about Teddy Bear Randall, there's not many players available that bring what he does. RJ is too inconsistent for me. Okay, I respect that, and I tend to agree with you. I think the only issue is that I think you would get a lot more for Julius than RJ. Just like you think RJ's too inconsistent, the rest of the league thinks the same thing. So if you truly want to get better, I think you're going to have to move the better player. And Randall will show up in the regular season and contribute to winning games, but I think his production this year is more due to Brunson being here. Yeah, that's the thing I got into on Wednesday on the radio, is that Brunson's a shoot first point guard, right? He's not really a point guard. He's a small shooting guard, right? So Julius can't cook the way he's accustomed to. Where what? Let's just go ahead and do it. Let's go ahead and do it. Could be the last time we look up some Knicks stats. Let's see. So Julius, right? He takes these shots. 19 shots a night, right? Has that continued in the playoffs? Now we know he missed some time. His shots are down to 15. His shots are down to 15. Now, he got his normal shots. Well, that was a couple years ago. 15 shots at night for Julius. When in the regular season, he had damn near 19. He had 19 shots. But again, Thibodeau's offense is just find you a guard or a wing that can ISO you to death and just give him the ball and let him do what he does. He did this in Chicago, whether it was Derrick Rose, whether it was Luol Deng, whether it was Jimmy Butler. Thibodeau does not have an offense. He does not have an offensive philosophy. There is none. There's no X's and O's. There's none of that. Like, it's basically just give the ball to whoever is our best lead guard or lead wing, and everyone else get the hell out the way. Maybe one or two stagger screens, and that's it. So I think, the problem with Julius is that he's accustomed to getting his shots. And if he's not getting his shots, he's not as engaged. It's really that simple. It's really that simple. Like, if it's not his shot, if he's not getting his shots, and we've seen it in this playoff. We've seen it in this series. So I think the issue is that, with Brunson coming in and having to prove himself, and not really to Knicks fans or to the Knicks organization, but to the NBA world, a lot of people, myself included, felt like, you giving Jalen Brunson $100 million? But it wasn't because he's not deserving. For me, it was, you giving this to him for him to be your number one option? That's not a championship. Like that to me is the equivalent of the Knicks giving Stoudemire $100 million back in the day. Like, it's a good move if you just want to be eliminated in the second round. But if you're trying to win a championship, that's not the move you make. And I know, obviously, his dad has ties, CAA, the Knicks are run by CAA. I get all of that. But to me, the issue wasn't necessarily, Jalen Brunson's not worth $100 million. It was, you're signing him and asking him to be the number one. Then that says to me, you're not trying to win the championship. And I don't think nothing I've seen this year has made me feel like I was wrong in that assessment. Alex in the chat, do they have an answer for Jokic? If you're speaking about the Lake Show, answer, no. However, let's look up the splits of Jokic against the Lakers. And then we have to see if Anthony Davis played in those games. Excuse. Let's see. Splits. Where's the splits? Here we go. Splits. Lakers. Okay. 4 games. He's averaging a triple-double against the Lakers. However, he's only averaging 23 points. So that's promising if you're a Lake Show fan, because at least he's not going crazy with the buckets, but he is still doing Jokic things. He's still giving you 12 boards and 10 assists. Now, can we figure out how many of those games Anthony Davis played? Game logs. Oh, this was early in the season. Early in the season, he went 12 of 17. He had a triple-double, almost a triple-double, 31, 9, and 13. I'm going to assume AD played since it was so early in the season. Yes, AD did play. Okay. And they played small. They played a small lineup. They ain't even had Thomas Bryant yet. That's a bad lineup against the Nuggets. That's like a 4-guard lineup. 3 guards, Bron and AD. Yeah, you can't do that against the Nuggets. They played them a lot early, it seems. They took a L to them later. 23, 6, and 14 in the second matchup. I'm assuming AD played. Yep, AD did play, and AD played well, 23 and 15. Okay, so 1-1, and AD played in both games so far. Let's see if we can find the other. Okay, they took a loss in, stop that. Don't want you to do that. I hate when it does that. In December, they got blown out. Okay, they're just going to be, okay, ridiculous there. Okay. Jokic had he had a good game. 25 and 11 with 8 dimes. AD play. AD did play, but he did not play a lot. Only 17 minutes. Is this because they blew them out, or did he get hurt? It was not that much of a blowout, so he must have got hurt. If he only played 17 minutes. 17 minutes, but in those 17 minutes, he gave you 10 and 4. So they were able to beat and then by then they had Thomas Bryant, so that's important. So they had another legitimate big to guard Jokic. That would be an issue this time. And then, yeah, damn, they got all 4 matchups out the way by January. So this is going to be they have not seen the new look Lakers. And AD did not play that last time, nor did Bron. So, yeah. So, they won 2 out of 3 when both teams were fully healthy. The Lakers beat the Nuggets 2 out of 3 when fully healthy. So, and now when you're talking about, they got Vanderbilt who can help. They got Rui who can help. The longer this playoff run goes, you may be able to get Mo Bamba back in there. Gabriel's been okay in spot duty. So do they have an answer? No. But can they throw way more bodies than they did earlier in the season when they beat them 2 out of 3 when healthy? Yes. So the Lakers, that could be the team. I feel confident that I think they can find a way to scratch and claw their way against the Nuggets. Let's see here. No, they could have got some real spread the ball players that can make a championship. I was talking about the Knicks. Yeah, the Knicks could have, but It's a CAA thing. If you're not down with CAA, it's going to be hard for you to be a Knick. If you're not CAA, good luck trying to be a Knick. Alex, if AD is out, though, and can't play, how does that work out for the Lake Show? Oh, they got no chance. If Anthony Davis is the best player on this team, Anthony Davis is the best player on the Los Angeles Lakers. So if he is not playing, it's a wrap. So if he is out for any extended period of time, the Lakers have no chance because LeBron is already on 1 foot. Unless he goes to Germany, and finds the Kobe version, the Kobe surgery for his foot, for his toe, or whatever the hell it is. Or if he goes to Miami like he used to. If you know, you know. But, anything could happen. But if Anthony Davis is hurt, it's a wrap. It's an absolute wrap. So, yeah, I don't put no stock into that. I would not look for anything of the Lake Show if they did. If AD was hurt, I wouldn't even bother watching the games, to be quite honest with you. Because they struggle sometimes even when he's playing at his apex. You take him out of it, you're going to have to start Rui. You're going to have to start Rui, or you're going to have to go small ball and go Lonnie or Malik Beasley. Jokic he would roll out of bed with a triple-double. Scrub Zero knows. Scrub Zero knows. It's the worst kept secret. It's the worst kept secret. But I ain't going to say it because I ain't trying to catch no case, but it's the worst kept secret. Anywho, is that how we should end the stream with the world kind of sort of knowing but not wanting to say out loud? Yeah. Let me just see. I'll check the timeline one last time, see if there's anything. Let's see. No new updates. Kendrick Perkins sent Jermichael Green's IG story to LeBron. That's, no, nothing there. Alex, I was asking because AD looked banged up. That's kind of the story of AD, Alex. That's just kind of, we thought he had a concussion, then it turns out he didn't have a concussion. He looks to be okay. As far as we know, he's going to give it a go tonight. I would be stunned if he doesn't try to give it a go tonight. And I would certainly be hella problematic. Let's see. Yeah, I'm just scrolling through, trying to make sure we're not forgetting anything. Nope, I think we're pretty good. Let's see. Alex, they woke up to a SWAT raid on the neighbor's house. That's a really fucked up way to wake up. That is rough. Is everything, well, I'm assuming you're okay, but what was the outcome? I have seen a similar thing growing up. Fakers by 10 plus. Okay, Scrub Zero's rolling with the Lake Show tonight. Oh, we have an update on the Washington football team. The deal is official. Washington Commanders co-owners Dan and Tanya Snyder make it official. They have reached a deal to sell the team. The Daniel Snyder era is over in Washington. And your man's Brian Davis out here was running around with some funny money, trying to be the first black majority owner. Talk about he had a $7 billion straight cash homie when it was really money from the Saudis. Crazy. Anyway, the Josh Harris Group, which includes Magic Johnson, they are now the owners of the Washington Alex, they flashbanged. Yikes. Yeah, that's some scary shit. That's some scary shit. They took so much drugs out that house. Yeah, that's kind of like similar to the one that I witnessed back in the day. No flashbang though. They had the battering ram. They just ran right through the fucking front door. Oh man, good times. Dude, looking at 30-40 upstate. Yikes. Yeah, that's not good, man. That's if my options are to do a 30-40 or just, take the easy way out, if you catch my drift, you got to seriously consider that easy way out. And I ain't trying to do 30-40 and no pen, especially probably a federal pen, max security. I'm good. Scrub Zero, about time. Yeah, man, this has been the worst kept secret. I only wish the Brian Davis thing was quasi legit just to see if they could find a way. How I really wanted the Brian Davis thing to be slightly legit just to see the NFL try to wiggle its way out of it. How are they going to wiggle their way out of a black-led group, a black majority owner-led group that had $7 billion straight cash, homie, which would have been $1 billion over asking price? Okay. How would the NFL have wiggled their way around that and still take the lesser deal? Like, when do you know the NFL to ever take a lesser deal? That's why I was hoping the deal was legit. Because I said, yeah, okay, let me see y'all wiggle y'all way out of it. But unfortunately, Brian Davis had funny money in that deal, much like NFL contracts. And, they couldn't get that done. Heard this big bomb. I thought that a car bed had crashed. Yeah, that sounds way too familiar. I'm taking the easy way out. Yeah, to me, that's the only way. That's the only way. Scrub Zero, no more Dan Snyder. Yeah, man, it's kind of a monumental thing. And again, that's why we're going to now get the tea from this investigation, because now he is free and clear. He is no longer associated with the NFL anymore. So now we can get the real information of how fucked up it was in that Washington Commander front office. And I did a few games there when I was a tech manager, and I can tell you the people there, they knew they had some stories. I can't tell those stories here. Some of the stuff I heard, I have now seen in some of these investigations, and it's only the tip of the iceberg, I'm telling you. So when this story does come out, it's going to be really rough. It's going to be really, really rough, because the NFL will try to distance themselves from Daniel Snyder, but they inhibited him and incubated him to get this off for decades. They knew this was going on. There was extensive reporting throughout the Daniel Snyder tenure of how fucked up it was to be a woman, to be a minority, to be a person of different sexual orientation, all of that in that front office. And they did next to nothing because he was one of 32. So anyway, like I said, the watch this story is depressing, but yes, as Alex says here, as we wrap up, no more Snyder is a good thing. But sadly, we will now get to know all of the Daniel Snyder stuff that was going on in Washington, or at least a good deal. Maybe not all, because some people are going to take that stuff to the grave. But I will bid y'all adieu. I want y'all to have a great weekend. If you have some time, check out some of the clips that I'm going to be putting out. For if you've missed any of the live streams from this week, it's on the live tab on the channel. Trying to build this up. If you think you know some people that might want to tap in, tell them pull up, subscribe. The chat community is growing. We're getting some new people tapping in, so I really do appreciate that. Building a new community of sports fans, intelligent sports fans who really want to talk their shit and just break down information instead of just embracing debate and yelling and screaming. So I appreciate all those who continuously pull up. I appreciate those who tap in just to see what we're doing over here. It's all love. So y'all have a good weekend. I'll holla at y'all on Monday. I'll be right back here, 4 p.m. Eastern on Timeline T. I'm D. Sam D. Sam Dismay Jr. Peace.